And today's Monday, Thursday, so it's showing the reality of the cage as well.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Captain Andy Leisnering from the Venice Police Department. With me here, we have Mayor Nick Pachota, City Manager Ed Lavalli, Airport Director Mark Cervasio, Fire Chief Frank Giddens, and Assistant Manager James Clinch. So yesterday, it was on Wednesday, April 5th, at about 9:38 p.m., Venice Police Department responded to the area of 1600 South Harbor Drive for a report of a plane crash. There's several witnesses that were on the pier that observed the crash and then called in to 911. Venice Police Department has taken the lead in the investigation, but of course, we're working with the NTSB and FAA. Ultimately, NTSB is responsible for the investigation. We handle the initial field investigation for them. The aircraft that was involved is a Piper PA-32R single-engine plane, occupied by 4 people. The pilot of the aircraft is identified as William Jeffrey Lumpkin, age 64. His wife was a passenger, Patricia Ann Lumpkin, age 68. Ricky Joe Beaver, age 60, and Elizabeth Ann Beaver, age 57. The Lumpkins are from Fishers, Indiana, and the Beavers are from Noblesville, Indiana. After the emergency crews arrived last night, Mr. Lumpkin and Mr. Beaver were located. They were determined to be deceased upon arrival. And we located a debris field from the crash site. And that was about a half mile west of the Venice airport. Last night, the rescue teams were unable to locate the plane or the female passengers. And we were unable to deploy a dive team until this morning when we had daylight. At 11:56 a.m., divers located the main portion of the aircraft, as well as 2 bodies who are believed to be Patricia Lumpkin and Elizabeth Beaver. The wreckage is at a depth approximately 23 feet. We've been in contact with the victims' families, so they are notified, and certainly our hearts go out to them as they deal with this tragedy. Just to give you a timeline, the airplane left an airport in St. Pete last night, flew to the Venice airport, arrived around 5 p.m. The occupants of the aircraft met with friends, had dinner at Sharky's on the Pier restaurant, and then departed at approximately 9:35 p.m. last night. The plane crashed soon after takeoff as they were returning to St. Pete. The primary questions relating to investigation, relating to the pilot and aircraft, I'll have to defer you to the NTSB as they are the primary investigators. But I do want to just take a moment to thank the investigative team as well as the agencies that assisted us yesterday. and ongoing today include the Venice Fire Department, Sarasota County Sheriff's Office, Sarasota Police Department, Florida Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Coast Guard, CETO Venice, District 12 Medical Examiner's Office. We'll now open up for any questions that you might have.
Maybe a question for the airport, but given that this was the second crash in 4 months, very similar circumstances, does something need to be done? I've spoken to pilots who say once they're out there over the Gulf, people get disoriented, and there are other runways open there as well.
Well, that's the thing. We don't have a control tower at the airport, so the runway that is used is up to the pilot. So it's up to them to make the decision as to which runway they're going to use. Usually that's based on the direction of the winds.
When you talk about flying over the Gulf at night, just those conditions for people who maybe aren't.
No, I couldn't say that. I'm airport, not in the cockpit.
So I realize that the NTSB is investigating, and you can't talk about their investigation, but as the airport director, what kind of commonalities are you looking at to make sure that everything is as safe as possible?
Well, what we're looking at is after I got in from the pier last night, we did a runway sweep to make sure that the airport itself there were no issues on the airport, which there were not. Runway 23 was clear. All the lights were working. Our facility was intact. I've gotten where they didn't receive any fuel, no services while they were there. They just paid a parking fee at the FBO and then departed.
So they did what a lot of people do. They fly in, they go over to the pier, they have dinner, and they fly out. Is that right?
I assume so, yeah.
So, again, what kind of commonalities will you look at, between the previous accident and this?
Well, you have to understand that once the airplanes are in flight, they're under the purview of the FAA flight standards. All our responsibility and our purview is to make sure that the airport and the facility that we have are in good condition and safe to use, and that's what they were.
All right, sir, you have had 7 people who were traveling from your airport who died from your airport. What are you going to do to ensure that you don't have more people added to that number? I want to hear from your point of view. Whatever, like FAA has its own jurisdiction, what it's going to do. What are you going to do to make sure you don't have more families piling up on this list?
I'm going to comply with the FAA's and the FDOT's requirements for operating an airport and making sure that the airport is safe.
We're aware that the fishing pier has currently been blocked off while search efforts are ongoing. Is there any estimate to how long that pier will be blocked off?
No, I don't have an estimate. I was informed that they're in the process of recovering the aircraft now, so that's why it was closed. We'll get that open as soon as possible, but I can't provide you with an estimate right now.
Captain, can you please, the last names of the deceased, can you spell them for me, your partner, please?
Sure. Lumpkin is spelled Lumpkin, and Beaver is Beaver.
Captain, there was some fishermen on the pier this morning that said they had come into jetty about 4:45, saw one of your boats, lower down, not even lift up the ramp and head right out there. Was that related to this at all, or just?
Well, we've been involved in the search all night, so they may have been coming and going from the location.
Well, this was 4:45 yesterday afternoon.
Yesterday afternoon.
Because when they heard that it happened at, what time did you say, 9? Yeah, they said,
Yeah.
no, the Venice police boat and a whole bunch of boats headed out there through the jetty, dropped the ramp and left from your dock.
Yeah, that would have been unrelated. I don't have any information on what they were doing at that time.
Are you able to describe what you said there were witnesses on the pier that saw the crash? Are you able to relay kind of what was it an up and down or kind of what they relate to you?
I'm not able to get into the that part because that's part of the investigation side.
I guess maybe for the airport and the city, just how hard is it to stand up here again 4 months later, very similar crash? How hard is it to let this investigation go?
Well, it's certainly unexpected. I mean, I've been working here for 16 years, and the last crash was the first crash that went off into the Gulf like that. So to have 2 in that short period of time is certainly unusual. But, I mean, it's really too early to make any conclusions because we have to see what happened. You know, what was the cause of this crash? It could be 2 completely unrelated causes, and it just happened to be that close together. We just don't know yet.
And if there was a tower, a control tower, would it have been anything different? Maybe the airport director can answer that.
Sure.
Probably not. The winds were favoring that runway at the time.
So there's nothing that the flight controllers could have done to stop the accident or been more safe or anything?
I wouldn't want to speculate on something like that, but I wouldn't think so.
The crash that happened just, last December, the pilot was relatively a new pilot in a rented plane. Are you seeing more new pilots with, low hours just after they've received their license, flying?
We don't monitor that really. It's that as I said, the certification of airmen, that's the FAA. That's where they get their license from, and that's who checks to make sure that they're proficient in that.
Is the airport growing more? I mean, we were there today and we saw a lot of planes landing. Does it seem to be a busier airport now than it has been in the years past?
I've been here 6.5 years. It seems a little bit busier, but you were actually here on a very busy day. Thursdays are days that our local pilots go out and fly out for lunch. So you saw a lot of activity. We usually see a lot of activity on Thursdays because of our base pilots.
Does anybody know about Mr. Lumpkin's history with flying? How long he's been a pilot?
I have no idea.
For the people that doesn't know, this kind of aircraft doesn't have black box or something that can work for the
Flight data recorders, no.
The bridge or the pier has cameras from the Venice Police Department. Does that record something of the accident? I know.
We have recovered some video footage from the pier, and also we have some cameras located near the airport, and those are all being reviewed, and they'll be forwarded to NTSB.
I know since this is still under investigation, you can't give out any details of maybe people at the restaurant or people on the pier if they saw anything shaky or any kinds of noises, but since all of your media partners are here right now, is there any preventative measures or anything that you want pilots or anybody maybe they're not familiar with the area flying in and out? Is there something that you want out to the public for people to be aware of?
Well, again, we're a public facility. We can't stop anybody from coming in. We can't stop them from leaving. We're under the purview of the FAA, and we can't restrict operations in any way. So that's up to the pilot. That's up to them.
And when they come in and get a parking spot, what kind of information do they have to give you? Do we know the type of plane, or what can you tell them?
They don't give us that information at all. They go through the fixed base operator on the field.
And what kind of information do they give them? Do you know?
Whatever they need. Like I said, they paid a parking fee, and that was it. They didn't take on fuel or any of that.
And I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to confirm with you, there were no weather anomalies last night, nothing atmospherically that would have been out of the ordinary or anything like that?
Not that I know of them. When I was out on the pier, it was a beautiful night.
Are you aware of anybody who saw anything that, or heard anything abnormal about this one?
No.
Maybe it's already been asked, but in light of 2 accidents and 7 people tragically, dying, are you gonna review some steps and maybe put in some new procedures for people that fly in and leave, or, things like that? Maybe things that are done for commercial pilots?
Well, as I said, we can't restrict the operations at the airport at all. The FAA precludes us from doing that. And our responsibility and what we do is we make sure that the airport is safe and in a safe condition to be used, if a pilot chooses to come or go.
Did the pilot make any emergency kind of call? Did you hear anything from there, or is that because there's no control tower? Like, how did they contact somebody?
They wouldn't contact us. So if they were talking to to air traffic control, they would interact with them.
So we don't know of any of that at this time?
No.
If there was any kind of call made?
We're not aware of.
Would you mind saying your name? Spelling them just so we say it right later today.
My name is Mark Servasio, Cervasio, Airport Director.
I've got one more question. We've heard from some local pilots about the issue related to spatial disorientation. Now, whichever one of you can answer this, what are the concerns that you have, or have you heard those complaints from the pilots who use this airport? And is there anything that, you're recommending for people who are making that complaint?
I wouldn't take it upon myself to make recommendations above and beyond the FAA's requirements to certify and give a pilot his license. They make the determination of whether or not that person is capable of operating an aircraft on their own. Me as the airport director don't have no purview over that.
Have you gotten those complaints, though, about the spatial disorientation?
As I said, that's not up to the airport. That's the pilot's choice to take off at night towards the Gulf. That's up to them. If they think they can handle it, they do it.
This is going to be a busy weekend with the holiday, Sunday being Easter. Do you have a message to anybody who might be flying in? Just be safe. What can they do?
Please be safe and follow the FAA's requirements as per operating your aircraft.
What was your reaction when you got the news last night that, oh my God, here we go again, this happened again?
Gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching.
I didn't know if you had anything else to say.
That's what else can be said.
Again, all 911 calls or video videos are under investigation, so they are not available for open record requests.
Yeah, they're not available just yet. So we'll be working with NTSB, and if we get the okay from them to release, we certainly will.
And one other question, when you park a plane at the airport, it's behind fences, right? So there's no one could go and do something to the plane.
Yes, the airport's secure.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. And did you need my name as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes, so it's Captain Andy Leisring, Leisenring. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.